Back to Free Will. This is Tony Scardino. This week, I honestly came to a little bump in the road on what I should talk about and what I should do. And that is because I think that a lot of the topics that I do have plans, that I do study, and that I do want to talk about need a little bit of an intro to who I am because it is per se my belief system. And I think before I start talking about what I believe, you need to understand how I got there in a way. Um, Also, just a little bit of, credibility, background, why I'm talking, etc. Kind of like the intro, but let's dive into that a little bit further now that we've done a few episodes. So, we're going to start from the beginning. Born and raised Las Vegas. I would say growing up in Vegas, you grow up fast. Maybe a little too fast, but I'm grateful for all of the experiences I had as a child because I definitely think that is a huge reason in why I think the way I do and the way I grew up and the way I view things because in Vegas, I think you do see a wide variety of different types of people, lifestyles, economic statuses, etc. You have friends in, it's just so diverse, Vegas. And, definitely learned all of the lessons a child could learn growing up in Vegas. But I always had a good head on my shoulders. And I went to college, University of Nevada, Reno. Ever since I was little, I always knew I wanted to help people in some way, and I always thought it was going to be through crime control. And I got my criminal justice degree. When I was in college, I realized I took a philosophy class. I totally have a passion for philosophy, and I took enough philosophy classes to where, because I already had a minor in pre-law, but I took enough philosophy classes to where I could do a double minor. I graduated with a BA in criminal justice with a double minor in pre-law and in ethics, moral, political philosophy. I had a normal college experience. It was as typical as you could, write it in the movie script. It was absolutely a college town, college vibes. I had a blast. I learned a lot of lessons. It was, you know, I feel like the movement now is, oh, don't go to college because it's dumb because you spend all of this money to waste all of your time and to develop these bad habits. And although like all of those points are true, I absolutely would never take back my college experience, and I'm glad that I did it. And although you may feel like your degree is a waste, it's what you make out of it. So, yeah, do a lot of kids go to college and kind of waste their time and money and they're lost, or they get this degree and they don't get a job in it, or they get this degree and it's useless, or whatever the case is, and they're in debt? It really is what the individual makes out of the experience. And although I agree with college is not for everyone, I do feel like it helps push an individual to that growth, to stepping out of your comfort zone and leaving home. Um, and to still have that responsibility of I have to make it to class and I have to get good grades, etc. So there's a yin and yang, right? After I graduated from Reno, I always said I was going to become a lawyer. And so I got accepted to law school and I'm moving to Miami, baby. I did choose subconsciously where I wanted to move to because I knew I wanted to get into content somehow, some way. I knew I definitely had a rising potential per se, but so I ended up in Miami. Man, Miami put me through a roller coaster. I did my first year in law school, and kind of right when I started law school, I knew right away that practicing law isn't in the picture anymore because I know I can do so much more with the type of knowledge that I'm obtaining. And I gratefully made friendships with people who were day trading, and right then and there, first semester of law school, I was dedicated to learning how to day trade into some type of platform. And free will is the baby to that. But yeah, I continued law school. I did second semester. Second semester, I had a pretty hard semester. I ended up in the hospital. I mean, law school, it's definitely moving across the country by yourself. Definitely, thankfully, though, I have my dog, because if I didn't have him with me this whole time, it would be super, I don't know where I would be at all, because I definitely hit a little bit of a depression living in Miami, and that's being in school and being out of school now. When you push yourself to move away like that and to isolate yourself from absolutely everything that you consider home and everything that you've been programmed to know, you end up leaving that programming and you end up finding your own programming. You end up finding really yourself. When they say you find yourself, that's what happened. So I moved to Miami. I got to find myself a little bit more. And I decided, there's no more time to waste. School right now isn't in the books for me. I can always finish off later, but I need to get my knowledge out. I need to do what I'm passionate about. And what I was passionate about was every single day waking up, doing research, and talking to people about it. And I knew that's not really what practicing law entailed. Granted, I know for a fact I was meant to go to law school for the first year right now because it allowed me to develop all the necessary skills to continue on my passion. And for example, reading, I was never a big reader. Law school, I knew I had to read the books to be successful. So now I love reading. One of the other reasons why I started finding a lack of passion towards my schooling and practicing law and going further towards wanting to do podcasting was just everything that was going on in the world. I have the type of brain where I have to think about everything in a deep analytical way and figure out the reason to why things are occurring. And that's why I think I was drawn so much to philosophy. So I started becoming more and more drawn, a more philosophical approach to my career. And you have to sit there and answer all the questions on why. And it really is me having the desire and passion to answer worldly questions. And I started diving deep down every single rabbit hole. I'm still doing it. And this is the beginning of that research. This is the beginning of my belief system transforming and the work that I'm going to do to establish oneness. Because where does that come into play? In, I would say, about the beginning of the summer. It was right when the transition of no more school happened. I had an awakening. I consider Miami to have been the place that was necessary for me to come to. And we talk about how life is a movie. So I think in my movie, I was meant to come here to have this awakening. And in simplest terms, the way I can describe this awakening is realize that we talk about the concept of how what you can prove is your own consciousness, and everything is what you perceive, what you believe, what you feel, your emotions, the world coming from your eyes. And the awakening was basically a consistency of seeing that the world is what I reflect onto it, and that everyone is together and connected. Really, it's a giant test to lead into establishing peace and love. And it's developing each and every single individual's consciousness into a collective consciousness, into oneness. And within my research, I saw that this idea of a collective consciousness is written through each scripture, It is across all religions and ideologies, and it is the concept of one. And at the end, when you ask every human being's pure desires, that's love and happiness, right? And although I feel that I do have this educational background per se, that's not where my credibility lies within this podcast. My credibility relies within my life experience, because I think that is the truth. That is your truth. Your life experience is your truth. And when you look at all these other podcasts or, the news outlets, or whatever the case, you're looking at other people's realities, and you're developing belief systems based off of someone else's, what we say DNA is data. You're developing your belief system off of other people's data, and it's a continuation, generation through generation. And although what I'm saying might sound a little contradicting, because I'm like, oh, here I have a podcast, but really what I'm trying to do with my highest intentions in my platform is to figure out a way to get the collective consciousness to understand this concept of oneness. And that's why I feel like I'm going to get into a lot of interesting topics, topics that the average person doesn't really talk about, the topics that we don't necessarily dive deeper into as a collective society, because that's what keeps the separation alive, right? I mean, when you look at the biggest problem going on as a society, it is our separation. And it's unfortunate because the truth behind that is the way you treat others is going to reflect right back onto you. In the Bible, they say it's God's punishment if you don't follow his word. You're going to have consequences, right? And in other terms, you can call it bad karma. And with that, I love doing this. Will it be rough starting what you want to do and following what you believe and speaking out your truth? Yes. But thinking outside of the box and following your true desires will lead you towards happiness, and the universe will reward you. And I hope that I can be an example of that in a way, because man, I was sick and tired of it. I was sick and tired of following the system. There's a yin and yang to how our society works, right? And it really just depends on the structure and where our children are coming from and where their values stand. There's truth in every culture, every religion, every society. Not everyone did it right and not everyone did it wrong. So we have to look at what everyone did right. And the answers to that is oneness, is realizing that we have the free will to choose oneness in our society. That's what's going to create peace. Because, yeah, we see all of the really crappy things going on in the world, and it definitely establishes fear. You're constantly living in the future. We talk about how everyone's either living in the future or past. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe at all. If we're on this lifetime, if we live and then we die, it doesn't matter what you believe. Why would you live in the future or past? You have to live in the present to experience this one time you have here, right? And everything going on in the world, it creates fear. Fear is living in the future, it's living in the past. It's not healthy for anyone, and it's not beneficial for anyone. And it sucks because when we look at the collective society, oh, what can we do about it? Well, we can all work on ourselves. We can all work on loving each other, and peace will come, because there's no other solutions. Love is always the answer. Even Elon Musk said it on Joe Rogan. Love is always the answer. So, yes, it's freaking hard. Like, but there's nothing more that I'd rather be doing than spreading this message. Like, going back to what I was talking about in the intro, the facts are there. We're energy. And when I get into these concepts leading on, it's coming from a place of openness, thinking outside of the box. And what we have to understand is we're not going to get anywhere if we're not thinking out of the box. We're just going to keep staying in the box. So definitely, I think I have a lot of cultural background. My mother is a direct descendant from Bulgaria. I'm half Bulgarian, half Italian. My dad's Italian. I grew up going to Philly, Jersey area, East Coast, every summer. So I've definitely been able, now is that all around the world? No, but I've definitely been lucky enough and fortunate enough to understand different perspective, different opinions, different cultures, religions. And when I came to what I call Miami the devil's playground itself, I realized that at the end of the day, we all have the free will. And I think we absolutely can achieve that. So yeah, that was my little get to know me intro to me leading into my belief system in the future and how I got there. Establishment to think outside of the box in future episodes and realize that the truth is within ourselves. So I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of their week. Please like, rate, subscribe, comment. You can find me on every platform at official Tony Scardino, and I'll catch you guys next week.